All right, so get ready. We are going deep into the world of brand building.
Oh, I'm excited for this.
You sent over some really cool stuff.
Yeah, I tried to give a good mix.
Yeah, from guides to real-world examples. I mean, there's so much here. So
Where do we even begin?
let's unpack this and figure out, what makes brands tick.
I think a good place to start is that a lot of people, when they think about building a brand, they just think about slapping a logo on something.
Yeah,
But it's so much more than that.
it really is.
I mean, that's just the tip of the iceberg, right?
Totally. Totally. And that's where I think Simon Middleton's book, Build a Brand in 30 Days, is such a good place to start. It's got practical tips. It's got real-world brand stories and even advice from experts who have built some of the biggest brands out there.
Yeah, like Middleton himself. He's kind of a big deal in the branding world.
I mean, yeah, he's worked with Barclays and Aviva.
Had a manger?
Yeah, huge names. So today, our mission is to pull out those core principles of brand building and see how they play out in real life. By the end of this deep dive, you should have a solid grasp of what makes a brand work and how to build one yourself.
I love that. So I think it's important to start by saying that a lot of people think a brand is just a logo, right?
Yeah.
But it's so much more than that. Your brand is the complete experience someone has with your business.
Right.
The logo's just one tiny piece.
It's like Middleton says, your brand is the sum total of all the meanings that all your possible audiences carry around about you in their heads and in their hearts.
It's about the thoughts, the feelings, the beliefs that people associate with your business.
And honestly, I love that quote because it really gets at how it's emotional. Why does this matter?
Well, it matters because it makes it easier for people to choose you. You know, you walk down the grocery store aisle, you're looking at all this cereal.
Right.
You're way more likely to grab that brand that you already have good feelings about.
Exactly. And ultimately, it builds trust. It builds loyalty.
Yes.
It helps you cut through all the noise in the marketplace.
And charge a premium, even.
That's huge.
Yeah.
So it's not just about warm and fuzzy feelings.
No.
It directly impacts your bottom line. One of the things that Middleton really emphasizes is the power of having an authentic purpose.
Okay, yeah.
It's about finding that sweet spot where your personal passions and talents intersect with a clear business strategy.
Yeah, and I think it's important to note that people can usually sniff out a brand that's just in it for the money.
Oh, for sure.
Like when you're driven by a genuine purpose, it shows.
Yeah, it's like that old saying, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Have you ever done the letter from the futures exercise?
Yes. Oh, it's so powerful.
Tell me about it.
Okay, so it's basically like, imagine you're 5 years in the future, right? What has your brand achieved? What are people saying about you?
You're basically envisioning your ideal future.
Yeah, exactly. And it's amazing how when you really connect with those emotions, that's where the magic happens.
And it forces you to ask yourself those tough but essential questions. Like, what do you really want to achieve with this brand?
Exactly.
Okay, so purpose is key, but you also need a solid set of values.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about those generic buzzwords.
Right.
Like, these values should guide every single decision you make.
They're your moral compass, right? Your guiding principles.
Exactly, especially when you're navigating tricky situations.
These days especially, everyone's demanding transparency and authenticity.
Totally. So Middleton used the example of Adnams. Have you heard of them?
Yes, the brewery.
Yeah, they've been around for over a century.
Yeah, they've really embraced values-driven business.
And they've woven it into every aspect of their operation.
From sustainability to employee relations.
It shows that people respond to businesses that actually stand for something.
They do.
So if you had to pick just one value for your brand, what would it be?
Oh, that's a good question.
That's a tough one, I know.
I think for me it would have to be authenticity, you know?
Okay, I like that.
Just being genuine in everything you do and letting that shine through.
It's really about getting to the heart of what your brand stands for.
Absolutely.
Okay, here's another point Middleton makes. He says brands are essentially stories.
Yeah.
And I think that's really powerful.
It is, because stories help people understand the world, you know?
And connect with your business on an emotional level.
Totally.
We're hardwired for stories, right? They grab our attention. They help us remember things.
Sure, connect.
Yeah. And Middleton actually suggests something really cool. Imagine your brand as a character from another time,
Yeah.
what would they look like?
What would their values be?
What kind of story would they tell? I think that's so creative.
I love
It gets those creative juices flowing.
Totally.
So you've got your story,
Mm-hmm.
but in a crowded market, you've got to stand out, right?
Yeah.
So Middleton talks about this concept called positioning. It's essentially your brand's elevator pitch to the world.
Like, where do you want your brand to sit in people's minds?
Exactly. Compared to your competitors.
Yeah.
He gives this great example of Dixon's, the electronics retailer.
Okay. Yeah.
Remember their slogan was, the last place you should go.
Yeah. Such a bold move.
But so brilliant.
Right. Because it's playful, it's memorable, it speaks to those savvy shoppers.
Totally. The people who do their research.
Yeah.
So it acknowledges they might not have the absolute lowest prices.
But they're the place to go after you've done your homework.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So we've talked about purpose, values, narrative, positioning. But how do you bring all this to life online?
That's where your website comes in.
Okay.
Your digital storefront, it's the first impression a lot of people have.
We actually have some great insights from an SEO expert, Mark Cook.
Okay.
He's from Further Search Marketing.
Yeah.
And he says, make your website search engine friendly.
Right. Like, use relevant keywords, optimize your content.
Exactly. And build a good internal linking structure.
And create good quality content, too.
Oh, definitely.
Things that actually provide value to your audience.
And this is where that storytelling element comes back in, right?
Yes.
Because your website content should be engaging, informative, and aligned with your brand's voice and values.
You want people to visit your site and be like, these are my people.
Yes. And of course, we can't forget about social media.
Oh, right.
This is the cornerstone of brand building.
It is. It's where people are spending their time.
Stephanie Diamond, she's a social media expert, and she really emphasizes the power of using social media to provide value, build relationships, and connect with your audience in a genuine way.
And building a community,
Yeah.
a space where people can actually engage with your brand.
And that means being transparent, responsive, and genuinely interested in what your audience has to say.
Yeah, you don't want to just broadcast. You want to have a dialogue.
All right. So you've got a great website. You're doing well on social media.
Okay.
What else is there?
Well, I think it's about those little moments.
Okay.
Like those seemingly insignificant interactions that can either make or break a brand experience.
Middleton calls these touch points.
Yeah.
Every interaction a customer has with your brand, whether it's online or offline, that's a touch point. It could be your packaging, your customer service, even the cleanliness of your restrooms.
It's about creating that consistent brand experience.
Right. Every touch point needs to reinforce your values and narrative.
Yeah, totally.
And I have a personal example.
Okay.
So full disclosure, I'm kind of a coffee snob.
I had a feeling.
There's this coffee shop that I go to. Their coffee is amazing,
Okay.
but their restrooms, always a disaster.
Oh no.
And it's such a small thing,
Right.
but it totally ruins the experience.
It makes you question their attention to detail.
Yeah, and their overall commitment to quality.
That's such a good example of how a small thing can impact the whole experience.
So it made me think twice about going back. So take a minute and think about your own touch points. Are they consistent with your brand values? Are there areas you could improve?
Yeah. Sweat the details.
Exactly. Because even small changes can make a huge difference.
Totally.
Speaking of creating a positive experience, Middleton talks about the importance of your people,
Okay.
your employees. They are the embodiment of your brand,
They're the ones interacting with customers,
representing your company.
bringing the brand to life,
And that's where things get really interesting.
especially for entrepreneurs.
Yeah, they're so passionate about their brand.
Yeah. They eat, sleep, and breathe it.
And they expect everyone else to be just as obsessed.
Yeah. But that's not always realistic.
Middleton has this line, it's kind of a wake-up call.
Okay.
He says, the brutal truth is that nobody cares about your brand as much as you do.
Ouch. I know, right?
But he's got a point,
But your team has their own lives.
their own motivation. And so how do you align those individual motivations with your brand's goals? That's what we're going to get into in the next part of our deep dive.
I can't wait.
We'll talk about engaging your team, creating a culture that reflects your brand values, and finding that balance between control and empowerment.
Sounds good.
Stay tuned.
Welcome back. Last time we were talking about the people, the people who actually power your brand.
It's like you spend all this time crafting your brand story and making a nice website, but none of it matters if your team's not on board.
If they don't get it.
Right.
Yeah.
Like Middleton has this line, it's like a wake-up call. He says, "The brutal truth is that nobody cares about your brand as much as you do."
That's harsh, but
It's true, though.
yeah.
Your team has their own lives,
Yeah.
their own motivations.
So how do you get everyone on the same page?
That's the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
How do you align those motivations with the brand's goal?
That's where leadership comes in.
Okay.
You got to find a way to create that shared sense of purpose.
How do you do that?
Communication is key,
Okay.
but not just like top-down communication.
Right.
It's about explaining the why behind the brand.
I like that, the why.
Yeah, help them understand the bigger picture, how their role fits in, and why it matters.
So don't just tell them what to do, tell them why they're doing it.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's also about respect and recognition.
Yeah.
Treat your team like valued members of the brand family.
Right, not just cogs in a machine.
Exactly.
Give them feedback, listen to them,
View their contributions.
help them grow.
Yes, all of that.
Because when employees feel undervalued, that leads to low morale.
Absolutely.
Middleton actually has this example of a company that was struggling with productivity. They even had a financial incentive program in place,
Okay.
but it wasn't working.
So it wasn't about the money?
It turned out the issue was respect.
Wow.
The employees felt undervalued
Yeah.
and disconnected from the company's mission.
And that led to disengagement,
Yeah, and low morale.
which ultimately hurt their productivity.
So sometimes the solution isn't about throwing money at a problem.
Right.
It's about investing in your people.
I like that.
So let's talk about some actionable advice.
Okay. Yeah.
What can we do to build a more engaged, empowered culture within our own teams?
Well, Middleton outlines a few key steps.
Okay.
First, make sure you're crystal clear about your brand story.
What are your values?
Yeah.
What's your purpose?
What makes you unique?
Get that straight in your own head first.
Exactly.
Okay, and then,
And then communicate it to your team in a
Okay.
way that's compelling and inspiring.
yeah,
Help them understand why it matters.
and then give them the tools and resources they need.
Yes. Training, mentorship,
Okay.
access to information.
Make sure they feel equipped to represent your brand.
And don't micromanage.
Oh, that's a hard one.
I know, right?
Especially for entrepreneurs, they like to do everything themselves.
It can be tough, but you gotta trust your team.
Empower them to make decisions.
Let them take ownership of their roles. It fosters creativity, innovation.
And when they do well, recognize their contributions.
Yes. Celebrate those wins.
Big and small.
It goes a long way.
So we've talked about the internal stuff,
Yeah.
building a good team culture.
Hmm.
Now, what about the external side of things? Like, how do you manage your brand's perception in the wider world?
Ooh, that's where things get interesting.
Yeah.
It's a balancing act.
You can't control everything.
Middleton uses this great analogy of an orchestra.
Okay. I like analogies.
So the conductor sets the tempo and the direction,
Mm-hmm.
but it's the individual musicians who bring the music to life.
Okay.
They all have their own unique talents, but they work together to create a harmonious whole.
So as a brand leader, you're like the conductor, setting the vision, the strategy.
But it's your team, your customers, even your critics.
Wow.
They all contribute to shaping how your brand is perceived.
It's really a collaborative process.
It is, and that's why managing expectations is so important.
Don't overpromise and underdeliver.
It's better to underpromise and overdeliver.
Right. Create that element of surprise.
And let's be real, things will go wrong.
Oh, yeah.
Mistakes will happen.
You can't plan for everything.
Products will fail. Customers will get upset.
So how do you handle those situations?
That's a huge part of brand management.
Okay.
Middleton actually dedicates a whole chapter to the art of the apology.
Apologizing. That's part of brand building.
It can be.
Sure.
A sincere apology can actually strengthen your brand.
Okay. How?
It shows humility. It shows you care.
Okay.
It shows you're willing to take responsibility.
So it humanizes your brand.
Exactly.
Takes it off that pedestal.
And Middleton lays out some principles for a truly effective apology.
All right. Give me the rundown.
Number one, be sincere.
Okay.
Don't just go through the motions.
People can spot a fake apology.
A mile away.
Okay. What else?
Be specific.
Okay.
Address the issue directly. Acknowledge the impact it had.
Don't be vague.
And don't shift the blame.
Own it.
Then offer a solution.
Mm.
What are you going to do to make things right?
Show the customer you're committed to fixing it.
And timing is everything.
Don't wait too long to apologize.
The longer you wait, the more frustrated they'll get.
Okay, got it.
And last but not least, follow through.
Oh, that's important.
Don't make empty promises. Actually do what you said you would do.
Actions speak louder than words.
They really do.
So we've covered apologies, managing expectations, building a strong team.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else we need to think about when it comes to brand building?
Well, one thing that comes up a lot is brand extensions.
Okay.
It's tempting, right?
You've got a successful brand. Why not use that name recognition to launch new products or services?
Exactly.
Seems like a no-brainer.
But Middleton is actually pretty cautious about brand extensions.
Really? Why?
He says you shouldn't do it just for the sake of growth.
Okay.
The key question is, does this extension make sense for your brand?
Does it align with your values, with your narrative?
Will it enhance your brand or will it dilute it? Good questions. He gives the example of Cadbury's, the chocolate company.
Oh, yeah, I love Cadbury's.
They tried to launch a chain of hot chocolate shops.
Okay, so like a Cadbury's cafe.
Yeah, but it failed.
Why? It seems like a natural fit.
On the surface, yeah.
Yeah.
But it didn't really make sense for their brand.
How so?
They're known for chocolate bars, not cafes.
Okay.
They didn't have that permission from their customers to move into that space.
So what's a good example of a brand extension done right?
Middleton points to Adnams again.
The brewery.
Yeah, they've expanded into cafes, wine stores, even kitchenware.
And it works because it feels like a natural extension.
Exactly. It aligns with their values and their story.
So the takeaway here is be strategic about brand extensions.
Mm-hmm.
Don't just jump into something because it sounds good on paper.
Think long term.
Yeah. What are the implications for your brand?
We've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
From building a good team to handling those PR disasters to thinking strategically about growth.
What's sticking with you so far? We've been talking about so many different aspects of branding.
Yeah, from purpose and values to storytelling, touch points.
It's a lot.
It is.
But I think the main thing I'm taking away from this is that it's not just about marketing tactics.
Right. It's about building something real.
Something with meaning.
Yeah, a brand needs a soul.
And I think one of the best examples of that is Press Misdemeanor.
Oh, I love Press.
Really?
Their branding is so on point.
I mean, it's a sandwich shop, right?
Yeah, but they've managed to create this amazing brand around simplicity, authenticity, and genuine care for their employees.
It's the whole vibe.
Exactly, and that translates into a really positive customer experience.
It's not just about the food.
It's about the whole package.
Yeah, tell me more. What's their secret?
Well, we have some insights from their former brand director, Mark Palmer.
Okay.
And he says there's no magic formula.
Okay.
They focus on the fundamentals. Great food, high-quality ingredients, and a team that's passionate about what they do.
Makes sense.
And they're super selective about who they hire.
So it's not just about skills.
It's about attitude.
They're looking for people who are naturally friendly.
Personable, yeah.
Because you can train for skills, but you can't fake a genuine smile.
Exactly. You can teach someone how to make a sandwich, but you can't teach them how to be a good person.
So true.
And once they've found the right people, they invest heavily in training.
And development.
Yeah, they empower their team to make decisions.
That's huge. A lot of businesses struggle with that.
I know, but it's about creating a culture of trust and respect.
Okay.
And that extends to their approach to motivation.
Okay. How so?
They focus on intrinsic rewards like recognition, a sense of belonging.
It's not just about the money.
Right. They offer competitive pay and benefits, but they know people are motivated by more than just money.
So they're creating a work environment where people feel valued.
Appreciated, yeah.
Palmer even mentioned that they incentivize their teams with cash bonuses and, get this, alcohol. Wait, they give their employees alcohol?
Apparently, yeah.
Is that even legal?
It must be. They're doing it.
It's interesting. It kind of speaks to their target audience, right?
Really?
Like young, energetic people who appreciate a fun work environment.
It might be unconventional, but it clearly works for them.
So you really have to tailor your brand to your audience, both internally and externally.
Absolutely.
One last thing Palmer mentioned that really stuck with me. He said, Pret's brand isn't static. It's constantly evolving.
Which makes sense. The world is changing so fast.
You can't just stand
And
still.
you have to adapt.
So they're always looking for ways to improve.
Experimenting.
It's an ongoing journey.
Exactly.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into brand building,
Mm-hmm.
what's the one thing you're taking away from this?
I think for me, it's a reminder that it's not just about the marketing tactics.
Yeah.
It's about building something authentic
Something meaningful.
that resonates with your team and your customers.
It's about having a clear purpose
Yeah.
and a set of values that guide your decisions.
Yeah.
And being willing to adapt and evolve.
As the world changes.
We covered so much.
We did.
From crafting a good narrative
Being mindful of touch points.
to investing in your people.
And positioning your brand in a way that makes you stand out.
We've even talked about apologizing when things go wrong.
And how to think strategically about growth.
This deep dive has given you a great foundation for building a successful brand.
I hope so.
But the learning doesn't stop here.
Keep exploring. Keep experimenting.
Keep building your brand with intention and authenticity.
And most importantly, have fun.
That's great advice.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of brand building. We'll see you next time for another fascinating exploration.